town budget. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I have no announcements tonight. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilperson Cassidy.
Present.
Councilperson Mackey.
Present.
Councilperson D'Alessandro.
Present.
Supervisor Hickman.
Present.
And Councilperson Walker is absent.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any minutes to approve this evening?
No, next meeting we will.
Okay, very good. Next item on the agenda is public comments on agenda items only. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any item on the agenda?
Good evening, Keith DiMasso. First, may I clarify, the agenda items, would that include the proposed budget? Is that what,
Excuse me?
the proposed budget, is that
Yes.
that's what we're talking about for agenda items?
This is one of the items on the agenda, yes. Well, we would open up public hearing, but Mr. DiMasso would like to speak on it at this stage, I
For
guess.
agenda items, correct?
You're going to open a public hearing in a minute about the budget, if so.
I had a question about it before that happens, if that's accurate to do. The document that I have here is from September 30th, 2013, and it's what is currently on the town's webpage. And on page 10 of that proposed budget, my question is regarding MS4, and for the tentative budget of 2014, it's $60,000. And I just want to know if you can tell me what that $60,000 goes to.
The MS4 budget? Sure. Well, we hire people for MS4. We have an MS4 administrator. Walter Artis, our MS4 contractor, he works for us. We have people in-house that do work for us on the MS4 program. And there's a certain amount of bookkeeping stuff.
So for 2014, I see that there's almost a 10.5% increase over the previous year. What are we expecting in 2014?
Nothing special.
For a 10% increase? Is there, I mean, is it wages?
I'd have to look into that. I don't know, there's nothing changes in wages. It might be a reallocation of how we do the labor. We've allocated different things across different budget lines in the past. Mark, I don't know, Walter didn't say this was a big year for our annual budget, for our annual MS4, did he? I thought that was last year we had the big year for it. I don't know.
No, I think, off the top of my head, I think that the 2013 number is actually short, so it's not a true 10% increase. That number is not reflective of the salary from 2013, so that the 60,000 encompasses a standard, 2% was the standard number we had put into the salary.
Okay,
list.
and I don't mean to
It's more
cut
of
you.
a correction than a
Okay.
increase of that amount.
Well, I see the original budget for 2013 was $54,366, then the revised budget was the same figure, but the actual expense was only $35,573, so we actually have about a $25,000 increase from what we actually spent in 2013.
Well, 2013 that's a part year figure. That's only through 3 quarters.
We're
So
not
we're
done
gonna spend
we're not
another
done with
$25,000?
2013 yet.
Excuse me?
We're not done with 2013 yet, so it's up to the third quarter.
So it's anticipated we're going to spend another $25,000 by December 31st?
There were changes in this line. There were staffing changes that happened during the year, so there were payrolls where nothing was charged to this particular line, but if you look at the salaries spread out across 26 full pay periods, it's going to come to almost the $60,000 figure.
You're paid every 2 weeks, is that 26 pay periods?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I think one of the things that, and I don't want to get to the budget now, but I think one of the things we've done in the budget, we've taken certain items in the budget that have been grouped together. We've tried to spread them out to make it more representative of the actual costs. I don't know if this was one of them. I know central data processing was one where we broke out certain things which was only under one line, and we broke it out to be a little bit more.
Well, that's understandable.
Well,
And-
no, I hope, yeah, exactly. I just want to explain that. And I don't know if that it's to do with the
No,
MS4.
actually, I'm happy to see it that way, so that it gives me the opportunity to see what that, maybe that expenditure is.
Well, it's also for us, too.
Well, I knew you didn't do it for me, John. So then whatever is not spent for 2013 in that budget, does that go back into the general budget, or does that go towards the $60,000, or will it be in addition to that $60,000?
As
No.
of December 31st, that whatever's left in the budget goes back in general fund and it's reallocated for the next budget round, correct?
It just goes away.
Yeah.
So if we look at all the revenues and all the expenditures, if revenues exceed expenditures, then our fund balance goes up at the end of the year. If expenditures exceed revenues, then our fund balance goes down at the end of the year. But anything that was unspent is gone. We don't roll it over to the following year,
Okay, so it goes back into the general fund.
assuming that they're, yeah,
If-
if you want to look at it that way, yes, it
Okay.
goes back in the general.
Okay. Now, on page 14 of the same document, for drainage, there's actually two lines for drainage. One on the very bottom, it says $150,000, and about in the middle of the page, under the code DA 5110, and then there's a 42. I don't know what those codes mean, but it says there's an allocation of $130,000 with an increase of 18.2%, but the actual usage in 2013 was $136,000. And then at the bottom, it says it's $150,000 for this other 5113 code regarding drainage. Are they two separate items, or what? Why they're both drainage?
Yeah, the way Dennis separates it out is there are sort of, I'll say, repair drainage, small drainage jobs. Those go to that first number you quoted, the $130,000.
Okay.
Then there are major road projects. Possibly we're paving a road, or there's, a significant capital change happening to the paving. That typically had been charged along with paving to the same line, and we're breaking it out. So you'll see for the major projects, rather than having paving and drainage together, we've split it out this year for the first time. But major drainage has always been put in the same line as major paving, as opposed to patchwork paving.
So these are in fact, two different line items. So drainage,
One is small
the
repairs.
universal
one
of
is-
drainage is $280,000?
Sure, yes.
Okay. Now, in that $280,000, the $100,000 that was authorized last board meeting for Francis Drive, is that in there?
No.
What line might I find out on?
Well, I don't know if that's going to happen this year or if it's going to happen next year.
We're looking
so-
to do it for 14, and if it so happens we have the money here, or else we'll take money out of the general fund, highway fund. But we're going to set money, we set money aside for that. It didn't come out of the major drainage budget, though.
It was, the resolution was that it would be appropriated fund balance, so.
Right.
So you have to be
Either-
designated then? Would that be accurate? You have to be designated?
It doesn't have to be designated, but if we see a big project that we feel needs to be done, then we will like to set aside a certain amount of money, then we do that as a formal town board meeting, as a resolution.
So that $100,000 will in fact be used for Francis Drive, though?
Oh, well, a portion of it, yeah. We don't think it's going to cost 100. We put aside 100 just to be sure we met the cost of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Lillian Durkash, and I live at 3 Duran Drive, Hopewell Junction. I've been in the home for over 40 years, I would say about 44 years. I'd like to know the status of our first water district that was inaugurated in our town, and whether our budget will be an increase in our water bills, and how the VRI is coming along as taking over our water meters, our water pollution problems, and I'm specifically interested in finding out why such a high quality of water is not received with the amount of E. coli in our system, with the high
which system is
density
this?
of,
Oh,
I call it bleach, water
a lot
that
of
comes out
chlorine.
of my faucet
Okay.
that smells
oh, okay.
proficiently.
Okay.
And that's why I'm here, to
Okay.
discuss, because I usually come to a water district meeting, and I'm really surprised because I did not see the budget or whether it's appropriate to speak or not.
Okay, no problem. Actually, it's a little ahead because, as the gentleman before you started going to the budget, this isn't actually the budget portion of the meeting. We will get to that in about 5 minutes. Lillian, but we brought on a BRI some years ago. What happened was originally we had 4 or 5 water districts, and as we grew, we took over more water districts. I think you said yours is one of the first that we had.
It was the first.
It was the first. So as we grew, as we took on more water districts, we had the decision to make, do we keep growing our water department in-house, which was actually in the highway department at the time, or do we sub it out? Well, when one of the gentlemen that was running our water operator, one of our licensed water operators, retired, we decided it'd be better to sub it out. So we interviewed several firms, and VRI actually was the one we selected out of the firms. I've always had very good results from VRI. So if you have a problem, I didn't know that you had a
Yes, I
problem.
did call. I
Yeah.
did call, and
Yeah.
I let him know that the smell out of my water
Yeah.
faucet was just,
Are you close to the plant?
no.
No.
No,
I
but
don't know
it's the
why-
highest house in the development of
Okay.
44 homes. And I'd
Okay.
like to see whether there's going to be any change in the rates going
Well,
up.
that's what tonight's meeting is about, and once we get to the special districts, which will be starting in
Well,
just a few minutes,
I
we'll
didn't
talk
know.
about
I'm not very
that.
familiar with this.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
meeting.
And if you want to come in and talk about the chlorine problem, the chlorine smell,
Yes, he
stop
he
in.
said to call in and.
Yeah, we'll stop in, because VRI is very available, we'll sit down and talk about it.
Yes.
Maybe it's something wrong with the system that they need to know about.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but
I'm
very
just
good.
a
So
little
Lillian-
concerned about it.
Okay, we'll get to the budget in just a few minutes. Yeah. Any other comments, public comments on agenda items only? Okay, there being none, Madam Clerk, do we have anything for receipt and file?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, now, do I have a motion to open the public hearing on special district assessments, special district budgets, and to consider the adoption of the 2014 tentative budget?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. Public hearing is now open. Where is she? Would you please step forward now? Lily, now's the time to talk about your budget. Now let's see what your rates are doing. Well, we had to do that. That was kind of a formality thing. All right, and just to give you a little, you know.
A little help.
Well, just so you know, we have a lot of special districts. We own water districts,
Yes.
sewer districts, sidewalk districts, lighting
Lighting
districts,
districts,
all
yes.
these different districts. So tonight is, we do the budget, and tonight would be the public hearing we're holding on adopting a 2014 budget. Mark, do you have the numbers for, well, actually, I probably have them here. And that would be the
Pinewood Knoll.
Pinewood Knolls? Okay. Pinewood Knolls water is actually going up 5 cents per thousand.
Making
It's an
it,
increase of just less than 2%.
is there going to be a change in the minimum amount of water usage? If I go below 9,000?
Yeah, that's
you
the
have to pay-
minimum.
Yeah, that's the minimum.
Yeah, so we
But if
still
s-
charge the minimum.
Yes, and of course, the annoying thing with me is the first house or second house as you enter, it says, please conserve water, which I do.
But you still, now you pay the
But I
minimum.
still have to pay for 9,000. That annoys me. You know, if you
Okay.
want me to conserve and I conserve.
And then we charge you for 9,000 anyway.
Absolutely.
Well, Lillian, we thank you
Does
for
it bother
conserving.
you? No.
Yeah.
Does it bother me? Yes.
A little bit, I can see that. Well,
Irritated.
Yeah.
Irritated.
No, I understand that.
Yes, and I do
yeah.
know that we get assessed. And when will the assessment end? I think we've been paying towards this water district for, I would say, 35 years.
Well, I don't know. I don't know when that bond is up. If there must be some kind of data out on that system.
Yeah, the tax revenue that we raise for the district goes towards the debt. So as soon as the bond expires, there hopefully won't be any
Well,
Well,
taxes
that's the
collected.
first,
but-
I've heard of 10-year bonds,
Yeah. No, this
20-year
gotta be-
bonds, 30 years. Now it's going
Yeah.
into 40 years,
Right.
and the beat goes on.
I mean, typically, we have 30-year bonds for,
Okay, so it
well,
should be
why don't we do
shortly
this?
paid.
Do you want to stop in and we'll look up the bonds, when the
Absolutely.
expiration date is? Why don't
Absolutely.
you stop in, we'll kill two birds with one stone.
Okay.
We'll find out about your chlorine problem, and we'll also find out when that debt is going to be retired, so that you'll be free of that.
Yes, and to advise that in the next water bill that we get, that there will be an increase, and possibly somebody else from our water district would come to the meeting.
Well, I think we sent the cards out, and when we do an increase, what we have to do is we take a look at everything that goes into it, VRI services, administration, chlorine. Maybe we can cut some on the chlorine, I don't know. We'll
Well,
have to take a look at that.
I'd rather have the chlorine than the E. coli.
Okay, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, anybody else in the audience who'd like to ask questions about their water, sewer, lighting, sidewalk? What other districts do we have? We have special park districts. Anybody? All right, there being none, does anybody on the board have any questions, any discussions? The special park districts, or the special districts, Mark and I had sat down, Mark sat down with VRI, just went over basically, as I just said, the costs and everything, so we put this together. One thing I do have to say, when we had done our budgets, we wrapped these up a few weeks, we made this available to the town board, I believe it was October 4th. About 2 weeks ago, I got a notice from the town of Fishkill that they're selling us water, as we've been in contract with them for some years now, and suddenly they've decided they have to look at the rates they're charging us. So I did call the supervisor in Fishkill and told him that our budget had already been done. We hadn't adopted it yet, but we need to have more information. He described to me something that we did not like. I told him he'd have to go back and take a look at his numbers. And he is, we need to address his issues. Fishkill's issues are not East Fishkill's issues, but we do borrow water from them. I just assured him that we will look out for our customers in our Shenandoah Water District. So right now, this is the budget for the Shenandoah Water District, but as it goes forward, if any changes come from the town of Fishkill, I will let you know. But Fishkill's problems are Fishkill problems and not East Fishkill, so. And I'll keep you appraised if I hear, we should hear before the December meeting, and if there's any changes, we'll certainly let everybody know. So, all right, with that, we'll move to the town budget. Town budget, townwide funds include the general and highway funds, and just so you know, we will not exceed the tax cap. Mark, did you want to do, I think you put together a PowerPoint presentation or something? Would you
Sure.
like to
it's
do
just
that?
a brief summary of some of the highlights of the budget. The townwide funds, the general and highway funds, total tax levy is $10,261,691. This represents a 3.06% increase over 2013 levy. However, because of the growth of the town, new properties, additions, increased valuations of properties, a typical homeowner will pay about 2.1% more, not 3.06% more, which represents, for a $300,000 house, about $18 more in 2014 than they did in 2013. Where your property tax go, in the spring, we collect for the county, town, fire, library, and special districts. In the fall, we collect school property taxes. Town of East Fishkill has several different school districts, but approximately 75% of property taxes go to the school district, about 13% to the county, about 10% to the town for general and highway funds. This is just an illustration of what I had said earlier, that a typical homeowner will pay about $18 more in a property assessed at $300,000, which represents 2.19% increase. Spending trends in the town have stayed largely flat. In fact, the 2014 budget is slightly up from the 2013 budget, but it's down from the actual expenditures of 2010 and 2011. How the money is being spent in the town, about a third each to the highway and police departments for all the services they provide. Recreation is that orange wedge, home and community services for planning and zoning, and then the green portion represents necessary services like the court and clerk, my office, the engineering office. Fund balance projections, at the end of this year, we expect to have about $2.9 million in the general fund and about $695,000 in the highway fund. In the 2014 budget, we've appropriated $420,000 to supplement, that essentially represents $420,000 worth of expenditures that will exceed our anticipated revenues, and $185,000 in the highway fund, which would result in fund balances at the end of 2014, assuming our 2013 projections are good and our 2014 budget comes to fruition, of about $2.4 million in the general fund and about $500,000 in the highway fund. Just some notes, as Supervisor Hickman said, the tax levy for 2014 will not exceed the New York State tax cap. Some things that will affect our spending in 2013 include the CSEA contract, which expires at the end of this year. Our police contract continues through 2015, so has been accounted for in the budget. Despite increased cost of fuel supplies, insurance, pensions, and other necessary costs, the town has managed to keep total spending flat by constantly reviewing operations. We've insourced some services where it made sense, and we've outsourced others where that made sense. Tried to be creative with our insurance plans, reviewing staffing needs, et cetera. We're expecting sales tax revenues for 2014 to be slightly up from 2013, and mortgage tax revenues maybe to be even down from what we expected in 2013. Pension expenses are finally expected to flatten off and possibly decrease. You've heard that from me a few times this year already.
I'll believe it when I see it. New York State sends us a bill at the end of every year. And I've said this how many times before? What was it in 2009? 650,000, and this year's projected to be
About 1.7 million.
1.7 million. So these are the costs we've been absorbing and keeping those lines flat by cutting all the other expenses. So if pension expenses flatten, I will be thrilled.
Set in the budget are the property tax rates for the special districts. Property taxes largely go to fund debt payments in special districts. The annual operations are supported by the quarterly rents that we charge for water and sewer districts. The budget anticipates how much we need to collect in water and sewer rents. We're currently doing an analysis to see if, based on the current usage in each district, the rates that exist now will support the revenues required. So there may be, I'm certain there will be at least some changes to water rates, particularly next year. Yeah, there are a few
Shenandoah
districts that
especially
are
is a
just
little
underfunded. As Supervisor Hickman mentioned earlier, we have changed the way we account for some things in the budget, so I've just highlighted those things here. The attempt is to make it clearer where true expenses lie. Some things are being moved in and out of departments, again, with the purpose of more accurately reflecting where the actual costs belong. And that's
it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Mark Posniak, our controller, has done a really terrific job on the budget, and I really appreciate working along with him. So anybody in the audience like to speak about the general highway budget? Anybody on the board, any comments or questions for the controller or myself?
No.
Okay. There being none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing on the special district assessments, special district budgets, and the tentative budget?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Public hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion to adopt the 2014 budget?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. The budget's been adopted. Mark, again, thank you very much.
Nope.
What? We didn't pay the electric bill. It's one of the things we took out of the budget. You know, you just can never figure. All right, on the agenda tonight, we have two resolutions. The first resolution is for a tree grant. We had discussed this actually, I think, over the summer, when our arborist had come forward with Lori Brangelman. She's our landscape person. She does a great job. And they wanted to see about doing a tree inventory in the town of East Fishkill. We thought it was a worthy cause, but unfortunately, with the cost of it and the way things were with the budget, we didn't allow that to happen. Well, Lori's gone out and appears that New York State DEC has a grant program entitled Urban and Community Forestry Grants. And within that, grant funds are available for certain projects. And one of the projects is actually to do a tree inventory. So Lori would like tonight for us to authorize her to go forward to New York State DEC to get funding to do tree inventory in the town of East Fishkill. Basically, we'd be looking at we're trying to identify the areas we'd be looking at, but they'd be like trees along roads, streets in subdivisions, and trees in parks. We couldn't do the whole town because we're 53 square miles, but we want to make sure that we get an idea of the trees, especially in our parks, that might cause a safety hazard. So Lori has asked us if we can put this resolution on the agenda for tonight, and this is actually what we thought we might be paying for earlier in the year, but we decided not to because of the budgetary constraints. So that being said, do I have a motion to authorize the grant application, New York State DEC, for the forestry grant program for our inventory?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. I'll be counting the trees on everybody's property. Number 2 is to accept various town roads. The highway superintendent and the town engineer have recommended town board to authorize the acceptance of town roads as set forth in the memo attached here too. Said roads are not fully complete, require conditional requirements as set forth also in the attached memo. Now what we're doing is asking, and I gotta tell you the truth, I have a little issue with this, and we've discussed it in the past. Here we are, we put out bids for highway for snowplow. We put out the bids, we've accepted the bids, we've awarded the bids. And developers, come forward on today's November 7th, asking us to take over these roads. Obviously, they don't want to plow and maintain them in the summer. We've already done the work, as far as putting out the bids and awarding the bids. At some point in the future, I would like to say that maybe after October, and I'm just throwing this out, after October 1st, maybe we should not accept any more roads. The developers need to know, because I hate to do it this late in the game. Now, Scott, I know you've spoken with Dennis about that.
Yes.
We've already got these routes already banned, but now these roads are going to have to be added to existing routes.
Yes, that's correct.
And Dennis is okay with this.
Yes. But I think it's just weighing out a balance between the residents that live on these streets and
Well,
their expectations.
and I was going to get to that,
Yeah.
we can't really say no to this because a lot of these projects are built out. Not all the way, but there are residents living on them, and, a lot of times the developers don't provide the services that we do. So, I would like to have this done a little bit earlier in the year, and that being said, it is what it is.
I mean, at least they could give us an idea that they're planning on turning it over, so.
So at least when we put them out to bid, we can add these roads in our bid list to the different snowplow routes. So we have them there. And I think that's a
We
good
could
idea.
take them off just as easy as we can put them on.
You sure could. So that's it. The streets that we're discussing here, Spring Meadow Lane, Lee's Way, Four Corners Boulevard, Quinn Street, Bayberry Street, Buttonwood Way, and Poplar Street would be town roads on the date that, and don't mind me barking about this a little bit, Scott, just at the end of the year, it's always a big rush for the developers to.
And it's every year.
And it
It's
is.
every year. Yeah.
It is, but I agree with you 100%. There's people living there and they deserve at least have our town guys or our contractors, which we oversee, plow the road.
And it's
So-
mail, it's school buses, it's all services, yeah.
Yep. So that's what the famous engineer's memo says. Everybody's got a copy. And these are in different stages. Some of them just need a few plantings, Scott, some need some street monuments.
Yeah, yes.
So-
Most of them are substantially complete aside from Twin Ponds. The rest of them are pretty much substantially complete.
Okay.
I just like to add Dillon Court, Derrick Drive at Sleepy Hollow, and Twin Ponds at Pondview. Those two, those there are also
Okay,
included.
that's right, that's on the memo, on the famous engineer's memo. All right, any questions for the engineer? And I hope you understand a little bit, like I say, we put these things out, but Dennis said that he can add them to the existing routes.
What about the maintenance bonds you wanted to be attached?
Yeah, that'll have to be as a condition, to finalize it. We'll have the maintenance bond, the final security in place. This is just town board approval to move forward with that step, so.
Okay.
Aside from Dillon Court, Derrick Drive, and Twin Ponds, which we are accepting immediately.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so do I have a motion to accept various towns' roads as recommended by the town engineer?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Scott, you'll meet with Dennis tomorrow, let him know that they will be placed on the appropriate routes.
Yes.
And you'll be working with these developers to make sure we get
Yes, absolutely.
whatever bonding, funding, and
Yeah. Fortunately, their letter and credit's in place, so that makes it
makes it
a lot
easier.
simpler to resolve it, yes.
Okay, very good. Next item on the agenda is budget transfers. Controllers here, do we have any budget transfers?
Not today.
Well, I hope not, we just did the budget. Wouldn't be appropriate to have a budget transfer yet now, would it? So, all righty, thank you, Mark. The last item on the agenda is public comments on general town issues. I'd like to open up the floor to general comments. One thing I would like to address is that there have been issues, something came up last week, which was brought to my attention. I got an email from somebody in the Hillside Lake area saying that there had been some political things put on a sign, vote for certain candidates or what have you. So I called somebody that represents Hillside Lake District. I called a couple of people there and just said, it's very inappropriate to have these kind of messages on the community board. I had asked them to take them down. They were removed, but then they were put up again over the weekend. I think on Saturday they were put back up. So we had them removed, took the letters and all that stuff. I just wanted to say, I got quite a few nasty emails, and this sign's on town property. This is a sign for the Hillside Lake community for their use, but it's on town property. It's like the sign out here, in front of the library, the sign down by Route 52 complex. We do not allow those type of political messages on public signs. So there's a big brouhaha about that. I got, like I said, several very nasty emails, responded to all of them. Actually, a few responded back and said they didn't realize that this was on town property, these are community signs. We don't want to stand in the way of anybody's freedom of speech. I have political signs, I put them on my property, everybody's welcome to do that. But on a sign in public property, the town does not allow that. So, that being said, and the other thing I would like to say, I know pictures were taken, my picture is taken, put on YouTube and all that, and I'm fine with that, but I would appreciate if you didn't use my wife. Because I don't think it's appropriate. You can say what you want to me, about me, or whatever, but I really would appreciate not bringing my wife into this thing. I just find that to be unnecessary. Excuse me? It was a little video I had me, a picture of me and my wife. And, a picture of me is fine, but I'd rather nobody put a picture of my wife in there. I don't think that was appropriate. But if anybody would like to discuss anything, please, this is the time.
It's more than inappropriate, it's outrageous.
I'm just want to get a little understanding of what's the big, I didn't even know that, to be honest with you, but what's the big deal if there's a picture of your wife?
Well, Bob, I find that to be a bit of an invasion of my property. Let me just, privacy, let me just say, I'm a public figure. And obviously you can say anything you want about me, and people do. People can be that way. But I guess I would just ask you to respect my family and my privacy. And I don't think that's too much to ask.
No, I'm not saying
I don't think
that-
that's too much to
I'm
ask.
not saying that it is, but I mean, everybody is vulnerable or would be subjected to the same kind of,
Okay, no problem.
there's
Bob.
no
That's-
law about that, is there?
Oh, no, I just think it's a matter of decency, but if you don't see an issue with it, I'm not gonna
John,
discuss, I'm
I
not gonna
didn't
debate
say,
it with you,
I
Bob.
didn't say that at all.
I'm not gonna
Why
debate it
are
with
you
you, Bob.
putting words in my mouth when I didn't say that?
I'm not gonna debate it with you, Bob.
Well, you're putting words in my mouth. I didn't say that at all. If you go back
your-
on what I
okay.
said, that's not what I said.
Okay.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay.
I'm only asking you something.
Okay,
That kind of condescending, that's not warranted.
okay.
The other thing that I want to ask you is, you're saying that corner is, that piece is town property.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do over there to maintain that little corner piece where the marquee is? It's
Plow,
town
mow
property.
it.
What do they do? The people in Hillside Lake are the ones that maintain that. The rock wall around it is all busted. Nobody does anything to maintain it. When they put flowers around, why don't they come and put some in there?
Okay.
What does okay mean?
I will mention that if you'd like to have that done, I'd certainly mention that to our landscape person. I have no problem
You know,
with that.
when I ask a question, saying okay
no,
doesn't,
I
that's
can
not answering
certainly-
anything.
Okay, you asked me questions, why we don't have flowers, Bob, there. I do not know. I do not know why we don't have flowers there. I do not know.
Okay,
I know that they don't do anything for us there.
Okay.
One other thing, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Bob.
That marquee,
Mm-hmm.
when that marquee was, I'm playing the devil's advocate. When that marquee was put there and we were allowed to put what we wanted on there, was it stipulated? You know what? I was asked by somebody there, they were insulted that endorsement
Mm-hmm.
was up on the marquee. Well, I mean, if somebody else wanted to put their name up on the marquee, I don't know that anybody could have had anything to say about it. Nobody asked to put any other names up on that marquee. But when it was, when that was installed, was there stipulation that nothing could be put there like that?
No,
Or was it decided the last second that nothing could be put
No,
there
no,
like
it's like the rest of our town signs, like we don't put it on the 52 complex or here. I had received 3 complaints with people that did not like that was put on there. They thought it was inappropriate, that lived in Hillside Lake,
Oh.
or claimed to live in Hillside Lake.
They claimed there, and it's 3 people that didn't like it, and a whole bunch of people that did like it.
Who
And
did like-
again, I'm
was there a-
playing the
no,
devil's
I don't know how many
advocate.
people liked it and how many people didn't
Okay,
like it.
Okay.
Hi, John Magnotta, Hillside Lake. On that same little piece of property where the board is, I've noticed there's a young lady that drives around in a red truck that does flowering, trimming, everything. In the 12 years that I lived in Hillside Lake, I have never, ever seen her there one time.
Okay.
We take care of that part. There's some young ladies that take care of that. They have to trim the hedges. They have to do everything themselves. We never get any of that. And I see her everywhere in town, but I've never seen her in Hillside Lake, not once. They do
Okay.
everybody
So
else's stuff.
If you'd like for me to ask her to go out there, I have
Yeah.
no problem with
Well, I
that.
just wanted to know
I mean, I'm not
why it
aware
was
of-
never done.
I am not aware of that, and as I said,
Does she work for the rec, or does she do that directly for the
She works for the
town?
town of East Fishkill. She does she's all over doing barrels and stuff.
Okay. Yes, like I
have no
said, I
problem
see her
speaking
every
with her.
spring, every summer. She's out almost every day, watering and everywhere.
Yeah.
Never, ever seen her in Hillside Lake, never once. And that's it.
Okay, John, John? Excuse me, John. Is that a request? John? Excuse me, John?
Does she do park districts?
Well, I don't know. Does she do special park districts?
Would that be?
Town property, yeah. Yeah. Would you like me to ask her if she would do that? Okay, very good. We can do that.
Yeah, the wall that's around it has been in disarray from being hit by either a snowplow or a vehicle, but the junipers, one of them is trimmed right out because it was dying and it looked hideous. I'd like to address stormwater again from a different angle. It was brought up again at last board meeting regarding Francis Drive and an authorization of $100,000 for stormwater drainage there. And over 2 or 3 years, at least one individual has had more than one exchange with the town engineer, Mr. Bryant, regarding the stormwater on South and East Vacation and Grace Road. And Mr. Bryant, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you had repeatedly told him that we were waiting on DEC permits for that.
No. Let me just kind of clear up that.
Okay.
There was a project that Highway did about 2 years ago.
I was instrumental in that project. I'm aware of it. At the end of,
And
We
that-
let him
That
execute this.
project required a permit. Dennis, I think, did that project maybe in about 2 phases. And at that point, the project had stopped. Dennis had talked about intentions to try to extend it further, which I believe is in the direction of John's problem. I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding about where John's problem actually was. I did meet with Dennis Miller since the last meeting. I know you had sent us some information. I know you've been talking to Rick Witt about that problem. In Dennis's mind, he was going to run that pipe out in a different direction from the pipe previously installed. So that potentially would require a new permit, but Dennis and I weren't exactly on the same page with that. We are now. Problem with that is there's an elevation issue. We cannot daylight the pipe without cutting through somebody's property. And with the concern we might flood that property, you can appreciate that. Rick Witt, right now, we're doing a hydrocade analysis of that watershed area. I think Gracie Lane.
Grace Road
Grace Road is one of the roads there.
is the elevation where the
Right.
predominantly water comes
Right,
from.
so right now, we're in the middle of doing a hydrocade analysis to see whether or not we can route all that water back to the pipe that was previously installed, which would not require a further DEC permit. And if that's not the case, then we're gonna have to contact that property owner and see what we can do about securing an easement and getting a permit and discharging it in the opposite direction. So I think there was just a little misunderstanding about exactly where this ponding issue was, but we are doing an analysis of it right now. And
Well, you could alleviate the higher portion of those elevations on Grace Road from up Sunset and bring them down, I believe it's East Mountain, and I forget the other perpendicular road, and bring them down South Mountain.
Well, we
Okay.
actually have a diagram right now of that drainage. We have no problem forwarding it to you. If you want to comment on it, we'll be happy to.
Okay,
take your
I
comments.
would look forward to that, sure.
But since that last meeting, we have been looking more into it. I think there was a disconnect between Dennis and I, quite frankly, in terms of which direction the drainage was going to go.
Okay,
And that's where we're at, so.
all right. Now, did you ascertain that thought after the survey was done, I believe in the fall of last year?
I think there was a layout of a right-of-way or a drainage
Yes.
easement somewhere in that general area. But to be honest with you, Dennis asked me for a layout. I contact Morris for a surveyor. I did not get specifically into the details of what pipe was going in what easement. I just kind of helped facilitate the layout. So that layout did not trigger any analysis. It was actually John bringing it up at the last meeting and me talking to Dennis and finding out that we had a disconnect, and now we're on top of it, so.
All right, well, I mean, to be proactive so that while this is all in the thought process, I don't know if you would need a permit to increase the amount of stormwater that's currently going into the system that was recently installed. But if a permit is necessary, why would you not send in for that permit? I mean, the one on Francis Drive has expired, and you're going to reapply.
Well, no, because the work was done. We put the pipe into the outfall.
Okay, so you don't need to reapply for a permit for
Well,
that?
right now, we're doing a hydrocad analysis.
Okay.
And the way that would work is when we finalize what the maximum amount of flow would be, we would run that by the DEC and see whether or not they're going to require us to maybe amend our existing permit. But physically, we've done the work in the buffer. Okay, so now it's just a matter of running it by the DEC, let them know we may increase the flow, and see whether they have an issue with that or not.
Okay. All right, I'd be looking forward to that layout, as you had mentioned. On a little bit of a different issue, I have a remark to make regarding the annual MS4 report that was recently revised with responses to public comment. I believe there was some 20 pages added to it, to those public comments, and the responses, in my humble opinion, are full of fluff and malarkey. On one of those comments, it was stated that it was the first time that Hillside Lake had ever been mentioned in any of the annual MS4 reports. And the response says, Hillside Lake has always been noted as a 303D impaired water body in all Town of East Fishkill SWMP annual reports on the municipal compliance certification page of 3 of 3. I have read most of those annual MS4 reports cover to cover, and I don't have access to all of them anymore, but I do have that very page from the 2012, and it's not there. No mention of Hillside Lake, and that goes for everyone preceding the 2013 MS4 report. I'll leave that here. You can see it with your own eyes.
Anybody else in the audience like to speak on general town issues?
I'd like to know why there's a big hole as you're going around the lake that's dangerous to anybody walking, adult, kid, animal, or anything, that hasn't been rectified for a long period of time. It's been noted. Now the remedy is to put caution tape around it. There was never even caution tape around it.
I know that.
Well, is that the remedy that we're gonna have for
No.
that hole?
No,
Or we're
Bob,
gonna get it fixed?
No, you remember that? That's been there, there's a drainage pipe under the road there, right?
That
Isn't there? It comes down around the turn there, drops in that hole, there's drainage, goes out to
comes
the lake.
around a very severe turn,
Yeah,
very narrow.
that's been there for as long as I can remember.
Okay, but there's a hole there, there's nothing else, I'm saying, there's a
That's-
hole, there's not a grate, there's not anything to
There's no
prevent anybody
structure
from
there,
going
that's-
down into that hole.
And I understand that. That's the way, as I recall, ever since I've been there, it's been there. There's no structure there. I could ask Dennis if he would put a catch basin in,
Well, I think that would be a good idea, I mean,
but I don't know if it's possible. There's a lot of rock there. That drainage hole has been there since I can remember, so, I mean, certainly.
John, whatever it is, I highly doubt that it started out as big as it did. Somebody can go into
Okay.
that hole at this point.
I'll make a mention.
And I don't understand what the caution tape is gonna do. So in other words, are you saying that caution tape was gonna be the permanent fix for that?
No, I'd ask Dennis
Well,
to put
we've
some,
been asking to have that fixed for a while,
what's that?
that hole.
That hole there. Okay. I can't speak for the highway superintendent, number one. I've been out there, you mentioned that, I've been out there. I
You know
that-
what, John?
I used to clean that hole out years ago when I was a highway, that's always been
You know
there.
what, John?
I will-
All of these little
Yeah,
legitimate requests or whatever, why is it a big hassle to get it resolved? Why?
because
Why
I'm
is it
not the highway
overlooked? Why is it a
superintendent,
big
Bob.
hassle?
If you ask me, I'm not the highway superintendent. You can ask me about things on the road, you can ask me about maintaining things. I'm not the highway superintendent, I
But when-
pass it along to
okay, but
Dennis.
what I'm asking you is when it gets presented to the right people and there's no remedy for it, then you need to take over.
How can I take over,
how?
Bob? I have no authority to take
So
over.
then what do we do? What do we do as a people? I'm asking you for your advice. What do we do as a people?
If you would like to send a letter to the highway department, to Dennis Miller.
I don't think it needs a letter, John. I
well,
think,
then
I
what do
think
you-
it's a known
well, then If
fact.
you don't think he needs a letter, you can do what you think.
Huh?
You send him, notify him however you think. I think putting it in writing and sending it to him is a good idea, and CC me.
In other words, a verbal discussion with somebody about
I can't
a
speak-
normal discussion about a problem is not good enough. It's got to be in writing.
I can't speak for another elected official. So my suggestion to you is if you'd like to put it in writing and CC me.
What I would like to see is that nobody gets hurt, that
Oh,
no car
absolutely.
winds up going there. I'm not much of a writer, but I'm bringing it to your attention that we got an issue there. Is that something that you can handle?
If you don't want to write it, I certainly will tell him.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
On that same issue, I was the person that made the tape go up. I was driving, but so everybody knows, I drove by there one day, there were two highway guys digging that dirt out. They put it on the side of the road.
Yeah.
I mentioned to them, I said, if you're going to put the dirt right next to that hole, if it rains, all that dirt's going to go right back in the hole. It's going to be for nothing. They just looked at me. And I said, by the way, are you going to put anything over that hole? I said, that's a big liability issue for the town. I said, somebody could walk by here and fall in there and sue the town. And they laughed at me. They said, that's the way it's staying. We got orders not to do anything here. We're just digging it out, and that's it. I said, well, you better call somebody. So when I came back, I called the highway department.
Right.
I got the young lady, and I told you and Mr. Danke this.
Yeah.
I called the secretary. She called I guess Dennis was out that day. She called the foreman. He said, the hole will remain the way it is. I'm not putting no cones in there. I'm not doing nothing. That's the answer I got from the highway department. I said, well, that's a big liability issue. Aren't you worried about somebody? I said, there's older people that walk their dogs here at night. They could fall in the hole and sue the town. That's the way it's staying. I said, well, I'm going to town
But you
hall,
just-
I'll take a picture, and I'm going to complain. He goes,
Yeah.
well, you do whatever you want to do, but that's the way it's staying.
Yeah, I've mentioned to it too.
And
Now-
that's when I came
No, I have
and
mentioned
showed
to
you
it too,
guys the
John.
picture.
But John, let me just say, just thinking about this hole, because I know where it is. I used to clean it out when I was at the highway department back in 1993. And you have, the hill comes down like this, goes around a turn like that. You have a bank here. The water runs around along the curve of the bank, and there's the hole. And I know exactly where it is. It's been
Right, you had
a
mentioned it to
drain
me that you knew it
forever.
from when you worked for the highway
Yeah, it's been a
department.
drain forever. I have mentioned it to Dennis, I would like to see something up there. I would disagree, though, with the thing, John, in my mind, people would walk on the other side of the road because that's flat.
No, I've seen
think? No?
I've seen people walk on that side.
Okay, all
Because
right.
I've cautioned them a couple of
Okay,
times.
I will make mention it again to Mr.
Right,
Miller.
and like I said, it's a big
Yeah.
liability
We don't
for
want-
the
yeah,
town.
I can
I
understand
hate to see
100%.
somebody
We don't
fall
wanna-
and get hurt in the middle of the night in the dark,
Yeah.
and then have a car run over
Yeah.
them, because that hole is there.
Understood. I will mention that to him again.
I'm sorry, but I want to, why would you defend something, try and defend something like that by saying which way the people walk? What do you mean? You got a hole there. You're talking, what, a little kid might not know to
Excuse-
walk on the other side of the
I'm
road.
just thinking
Bob, you want to
logically.
fight tonight with the supervisor?
No, I don't want to fight with anybody.
then
I'm
he
asking
said-
questions, Nick.
Yeah, I know, but you're now talking about nitpicking on certain
No, I'm not
words.
nitpicking about anything.
You're
I'm
right,
talking
though.
about a hole, and when
Yes.
somebody wants to...
Yes, you're right.
Let me finish.
Go
When
ahead.
somebody wants to defend that hole being there by saying what side somebody's going to walk on, I want to respond to that.
I understand. Now, the concern
But you don't
is-
want me to respond
No,
to it.
but I'm saying, but the issue is about the whole.
Exactly.
You don't want to write the letter. The supervisor said he will speak with the highway superintendent. Now, he's separate from the town board. Do you understand that? We can't tell him
So I
he has
asked
to do something.
before, what do we do as a people to get some resolve
That's
to
why
that
he
matter?
said-
I'm asking you
that's
what
why
we
he
need
said
to
If
do.
you send a formal letter, then it's in writing.
Yeah.
And then the superintendent has it. Now, you don't want to do it. The supervisor said he'll do
No,
it for you.
you're not answering my question. I don't want to write a letter.
So he's
I want
going-
to discuss with them. I'm not capable of writing that kind of letter. It's known. First of all, it's known. I want to know if the man just told you that
This is
they
the first
don't.
time I've heard
told
of the
him.
whole.
They told him they don't wanna. They're not gonna. Too bad and everything else. They're not doing anything about it. What do we do from there? That's what I'm asking you.
Well, you spoke.
That letter I might write.
Okay. so-
Tell me what I got to do.
I'm going to tell you. So you said that they called and they spoke to a foreman, and that's what the foreman gave the answer. Now, you don't like that answer. You go to the foreman's boss, which is Dennis Miller, okay? Not the supervisor, not me, okay? He is in charge.
Okay.
He's
And
a
if Dennis
du-
doesn't do it, what do we do? I want to fast forward. I want to know, because it's been for so long, known for so long, you mean Dennis doesn't know it? I'm asking you, do
I
you
don't know.
think Dennis don't know it?
This is the first time I've heard of this.
So what do we do if Dennis knows it and don't want to do anything about it? Why are we making a big deal about this? Give me an answer. What do we do to get it fixed?
I'm sure that you write it in a letter, right?
We're back to the letter.
Okay, yeah, because then it's in writing, and then the superintendent has it, and he can't ignore it. Maybe you told him of course, maybe you told him face to face, and who knows what happens, and they have to put an emergency out. But
Okay.
now if it's in writing, and if it doesn't get attended to, now there's a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Doesn't the highway department have people in these meetings to sit up here so that somebody could ask them questions about them? No one from the highway department?
No.
I actually emailed Dennis Miller about this hole and the liability for the town, and I CC'd Mr. Hickman.
Yeah.
And in that same email, I complained to Mr. Hickman about another issue, which was the grass being
Was that the
taller than
mowing,
me
Sue?
on the sides of the roads.
Yes, I didn't get a chance to
And
get back to you on that.
No, I want to thank you, because that very day,
I asked, and, yeah.
the grass was plowed, but I never got a response from either Dennis Miller or you about the hole. So it was in writing, it has been sent a long time ago, so let's note that it has been sent to Dennis, and it was CC'd to John Hickman, and I know that he got the email because he resolved the other problem. So I think that's the end of that issue.
If I may say, and I know, I'm not the highway superintendent. The highway superintendent oversees all town roads. I am not him. I can ask him to do things, and
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Now, how did you send it to Dennis? Via email?
Yes.
Because Dennis doesn't do email.
He doesn't respond to emails.
No,
Well,
I gave up on emails with Dennis. He does not do emails.
okay, well, I can print it out and put it in an envelope if that will help, but
Just saying, he does
it
not.
has been CC'd to Mr. Hickman. so-
and I have spoken with Dennis about this. And he said, but there seems, what's that?
So he is aware of it. So there you go. He is aware of it.
You've spoken to him about it, Bob, right? You've spoken to Dennis about this whole, you said you've spoken with Dennis about this, right? I've spoken to Dennis about this. You didn't speak to Dennis about this?
I'm sure I did mention.
I think you did, yeah.
All right, well, I will put it in an envelope. And then nobody can say that he hasn't received it in writing.
And waste the time.
I've seen children walking
Okay.
on that side of the road where
Okay,
that hole
Sue.
is. It's very dangerous. I mean,
Yeah.
a hole, like half a car could be swallowed in that hole on an icy night when you don't have control on that curve. Easily.
No, that's a twisty area, and it goes downhill and it goes around a turn. I know exactly
And there's
where
often
it is.
ice in the wintertime,
Yeah.
so I hope it's resolved soon, because I don't want my car going in that
No,
hole.
I don't want your car either.
Also, about the sign, you're saying that it is on town property. I'm going by hearsay on the internet and from emails, but I would like it clarified. I mean, the emails have said that the east residents of Hillside Lake paid for that sign, the sign itself.
Yep, it's on town property, yep.
And being that we do have a board, and I think that it's helpful for Hillside Lake residents to be able to know who their board, who's representing them and their best interests, endorses at an election. And it's very difficult with, we've tried, doing paper newsletters and stuff. It's a lot of man time, and it's very difficult for people, and, a financial issue too. The signboard, if in fact our residents did purchase it, is the easiest way to communicate with our
Right.
community. So my question is, do we have to purchase that little teeny area where the sign is from the town to be in order to be able to put what we want on our sign?
Well, I think one of the problems what I'm not sure, what the protocol is, I mean, if there's people in Hillside Lake that don't want that on the board, and they purchase the board, do they have a say on what goes on the board?
Well, I don't think there should be anyone who has the power to say that the board that is representing them can't put a message that says Hillside Lake Board endorses this candidate. If they have a problem with it, they can go to the board. I don't know that they did go to the board. I mean, they
I
went
don't
to
know.
you, and you're not the one who put the sign up. So
Right.
it seems that if the board wants to be able to put what they want on that sign, can we purchase that plot from the town? Is that what we have to do in order to put what we want on
I don't think you can purchase that
that?
from the town. I mean, I guess if you wanted to put, I don't know. How could you do that? You'd have to put on private property. So basically, what you'd have to do is put on somebody's private property, put up your own sign.
Well,
something
why would
like
the
that.
town be against us buying
Well, no.
a small little square plot of land if that's what we want to do? Exactly. I think it's a valid question. If we want to purchase that little place so that we
Yeah.
can have a means of communication with our community,
Yeah.
I don't see why
So
it
that
shouldn't
you-
be at
okay.
least,
So you would purchase that with the money from the Hillside Lake District?
well, if the
But then would
board wants
the people from the
to.
Hillside Lake District have a chance to say, have their say on what's going to be on the sign.
That's fine. That's fine.
The board is elected by the community
Yeah.
to represent the community.
I'm just wondering if it would be
Just
an
curious.
option that I can take to the board if they want to consider purchasing it, if you would be willing to sell it to us and how much it would cost. It's not a huge piece of property. It's, you know,
No, it's.
there's
I
a
know right where it
signboard.
is. Yep.
If we could purchase the little amount of property around the sign so that we can have a sign, and we don't have to put letters in 200 and something mailboxes every time we want to communicate with people, because
Well,
not
you don't
everybody
have
has
to,
email.
And I guess that the issue with what we don't allow on our public signs, as I said here, in front of the recreation, is, vote, we don't mind, that kind of stuff. Outright endorsement of candidates is not allowed on any of our signs.
But it's
I'd have
not
to
your
think about
sign.
that.
It's our sign,
It's your sign
correct?
on our property.
Right, so
Yes. Okay.
if we want to put what we want on the sign, do we have to buy that
No,
property?
no,
from-
you're more than welcome to put whatever you want on that sign, but when it comes to the political endorsements and things like that, then that seems to be the issue here. I have to think about that. I don't know, I had never thought about that one.
How was the sign paid for? The residents
I
paid
think it might
themselves?
have-
According to the emails that have
Yeah.
been sent, it's our property.
think-
Our lock was cut off and taken away from us, and now we no longer have access to the sign at all, and we can't put anything on
No,
it
you
because
do.
somebody put
your
their
letters-
own
your
locks on
letters
it,
and the
and we
keys
don't
that-
have the keys.
Yeah, they've been returned to you.
Well, that's good.
To
It took a
somebody.
while, though.
Somebody's got the letters and the key.
Well, that's good.
But I mean, I don't understand how the sign was paid for, through taxes or?
I think it's from Hillside Lake property taxes for the special park district.
We paid for it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Certainly can look at the land and how it was acquired by the town. That would determine if the town could sell it, so we'll take a look.
All right,
Okay.
I'd appreciate it. I don't know if the board wants to purchase it, it's just a thought, because if they want to be able to put what they want on it, that seems to be the only
Well,
solution.
nobody's stopping except for our issue with, like I said, with all the signs about personal, political endorsement. But this doesn't stop you from putting on Halloween parade or anything like that.
No, but we didn't know we weren't allowed to do it, so other things may come up. I mean, this is like, let's make rules as they come along, because we don't like what's on the sign. I mean,
No, it
you
had
know.
nothing to do with what was on the sign. Basically, when I got complaints from people in Hillside Lake, because I don't just sit there and think, I wonder what they have on the sign today. I got emails and I got calls from people.
Well, I think it was very inappropriate and actually illegal for someone to come and cut our locks that we paid for and take our letters that we paid for off of a sign that we paid for and not return them right away. So we couldn't put even vote today on there. Nothing. We had no access to our
Well,
own sign.
I did mention to people in the park district, they were removed, they left on the top, vote for change, and then the day or two later,
There was
they
nothing
went up,
there. There was nothing there.
Wednesday.
No, before.
Nothing on election day was
Oh, not
able
on
to be
election
put
day.
up there because we were locked out of our own sign.
Okay. Understood.
Also, I haven't been to a meeting in a while. I do work Thursday nights. I got off early tonight, so I could be here. But we heard at the last meeting about the lake, I believe it was in May maybe, that there was a grant proposal out that you were pretty sure we were going to receive and we were going to hear in mid-October. And I'm just wondering whatever happened with that. Have we heard?
We're making another grant application for the DEC, which will be, I think the date was pushed back till December. I have been speaking with Stephen Gruber and Victor Cornelius, our engineer from Renewage and our grant writer, and actually I just found out the other day that, well, first, for whatever reason, FEMA, we had an application to rehabilitate the dam and the spillway. And about 2 months ago, we were told FEMA's not paying for any dams, so take that out of the equation. So we took that out. We left the stormwater project in. Then we got a call, we got an email like about middle of last week and beginning of last week, oh, dams are back in. So then we made the reapplication again because FEMA decided they'd look at dams. FEMA actually did come back and they asked us for more information on the Hillside Lake Stormwater Project, which we've never been asked to give them this much detail. And I spoke with Victor Cornelius and I spoke with Stephen, and they were very excited that FEMA actually came back and asked for more information. So we've got the information for them. We're going to be sending the information up. Tomorrow's the deadline. They have everything set to go to FEMA for their further requests. So they're very excited. I would not want to say anything, but it looks very hopeful that we might actually get the grant for stormwater project.
So that's the one that we were supposed to hear about in October, but
There's so many different grant, and then they change the deadlines on them, so they push them back, they move them up, the government shut down, you know, it's just been a real mess. I would expect we'll be here, I'll have to ask the grant writer when we're gonna actually know for sure in this one. But they are very enthusiastic that this week we got asked for more information, so we'll see.
Well,
They
if
just
that
had a
could-
presentation on the Wappingers Lake project, which is similar to this one. I know Congressman Maloney was there, State Senator Gibson were there. Both of them know about the Hillside Lake application, and I'm told that they're very enthusiastic about the Wappinger project, so we're hopeful.
well, if you could update it on the town website in the Hillside Lake
Well,
section, that would be
I'm not
great.
gonna update until we get an actual, because I don't want to say anything until we get an actual approval. But yes, when it comes through, we'll certainly make it, we'll put it
Either
out.
approval or non-approval, it'd be nice to know either way.
Yeah.
And my other question was, I saw on that section of the town website that there was a contract with Victor Cornelius that was changed from 6 months to 3 months. I'm just wondering, does that mean we're giving up on the lake if we don't get grants in 3 months? Or is that gonna be renewed possibly?
It'll be curious. I mean, we've been through this one GIGP grant. This is our third round with that. We don't want to give up on the lake, but it does get frustrating, the more and more you have to do it. And we told Victor that we want to see some results. So we wouldn't give up on the lake, but, you know, if we get turned down for the next 3 rounds, we're certainly going to say we might have to look at it a little bit differently.
All right, well, I hope that with any surplus, because it looked like, I don't know, I'm not a budget expert, and it was very quick, that presentation, but it looked like there might be a fairly substantial surplus next year for the highway department and the general fund. It would be nice that if we don't get any of these grants, if the town would start to take care of the lake, because it is your job to take care of it, so you know, we can't wait year after year after year and get told we're waiting for grants, and have nothing done to maintain the lake, because it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
And we understand that situation. There are a lot of issues with the lake. I will be meeting with Stephen Gruber tomorrow. The stormwater obviously is one issue with the lake. And I know that there's been a lot of people, you know, saying stormwater is the only issue. And I have to say that I think that one of the larger parts of the issue that coming down the road are going to be the septics. Everybody that's built around the lake, septics, washing machine discharges, all these things impact the lake. And this is, again, it's a very complicated thing. We had actually we had a chemical that we'd wanted to put into the lake a couple years ago that would kill all the grass, all the seaweed, at least make the top look nice. But there was issues with the DEC and with putting that chemical, and then, you know, we're trying to address a very complicated issue. But Hillside Lake, there's a lot of lakes like Hillside Lake throughout the country, throughout New York State especially. Certainly, we don't want to see it degrade anymore, and it is a complicated issue. Stormwater is one part of it, septics is another part of it. You know, when you have so many houses around a water body on such small acreage, you're going to have, you know, septic leakage into the lake. So it's very complex. So to say that, yeah, you like to see, we would like to do something, we would like to see something done, but we don't want to see something done and then just have it, you know. So we need to take the steps to get the stormwater, address the septic issue, and go forward. So we're going to be meeting, I'm going to be meeting with Stephen Gruber tomorrow to go over this.
All right, thanks a lot, I appreciate it.
Before I get told to shut up tonight,
I'm not gonna tell
I
you to
want to
shut up.
thank Bill Danke for all the years of service that he gave to the town. Having said that, I don't think that if, I'm going to have to use his name, if Bill's name was on that marquee.
That's absolutely out of line. That's absolutely out of line.
Are you
What
gonna-
is-
Nobody on this board would have said, keep that sign up there because Bill Danke's name's on it. If that's the way you're gonna go.
Is
Say
where
that
you're
again,
going?
Bill? I'm
Is that where you're
sorry.
going, Bob?
Say it again.
Where were you gonna go with
All right.
that?
Where I was-
Maybe I jumped the gun.
Where
I'm
I was
sorry.
going to go with that is, instead of smoking the glass here, my opinion is that if your name was up there, and I'm not objecting to that,
Just finish.
that I believe that John would have never sent anybody over there to
Baloney.
take
Baloney.
take those letters down.
Baloney.
No, I don't think so,
Absolute
John.
baloney.
And Bob, I find
Sit
that very
down.
insulting, because, you know, I'm gonna tell, no. If I may make a statement, Bob, because you like to stand there and make statements. I would like to tell you something, Bob.
that as an
No,
insult.
I just want you to listen, because I'm getting the
Right.
feeling you won't listen. I try my best to be fair with everything I do here. People make fun of me, I try to be fair with everybody. When I do my election stuff, I put out signs. I do not touch anybody else's signs, because that's not fair. I try to conduct myself and treat everybody fairly. You may not see that, but if it was anybody else's name on that sign, I would have had it taken down just as quickly as we did. I promise you that.
Well, I would like to believe that.
And I wouldn't have tolerated it in the first place, because it's downright wrong, period. You know what? And I've listened to Hillside Lake people for 8 years. And Mr. Hickman has spent more time on Hillside Lake, I think, than any other issue. And he spent a lot of time, and this board has spent a lot of time on a lot of important issues. No, I don't want any response. This is the last thing you're gonna hear from me.
Go ahead.
Okay? To treat him the way he's been treated, with all the work, from the first month we took office together, we were up at Moore's talking about Hillside Lake, and it's been constant. And why? Because he wants to do something for Hillside Lake, as this whole board does. And all we get from a few people, not the general population of Hillside Lake, from a few people, all we get is grief and get disrespected, and this board has treated you all with respect. And I'm just had it, and Mr. Hickman, if it's all right with you, I'm going to depart.
Thank you, Councilman.
I'm sorry that Councilman Danke feels that way. I don't think that people getting up to speak is anything directed towards you personally or anything. He walked away, he should have heard me out. We are tired. Whether you're trying or whatever you're doing or whatever's going on, it's year after year. If anybody should be tired, you don't think that we want to be coming here and doing this just to break chops, do you? We're tired, John. So whatever efforts are being said, that we're not getting any place. That's the bottom line.
He hit the nail on the head, John. I personally know, I do know that you and some of the board has tried. I do know that. In fact, as recent as a day or two ago, I had said to somebody that is sitting in this room that you should communicate more to the people in Hillside Lake and let them know what you have tried to do, okay? Because even though you have tried to do it, we haven't seen anything, and you know that as well as we do. And the reason why you don't hear from the majority of the people in Hillside Lake is because they're tired of saying it. They've lost their faith in it even ever happening. And if I didn't come here, or some of the people didn't come here and speak and not indicate to you that we know that something's wrong, the rest of the world would think that nothing's wrong. And there's a lot wrong in Hillside Lake, and I think you know that from what you've heard from me recently.
We want some results, John. We want some resolve. We want some. We've been at this for a long time, and we have gotten nowhere. And it's not fair. It's not
Now,
fair.
regarding the marquee, and I hate to belabor this, but I'm just want to give you some of the logic that was applied, why we think that it was the right thing to do. It was an okay thing to do, regardless of what the counterparty may believe. It was decided by...
If I just gotta say, it's not the town, it's the town that does not allow that, just so that you know.
Okay, well, there are parameters regarding political signs, and the sign that was directly placed right across from Hillside Lake violates those parameters also. I don't know if you're aware of that. Why, I got a feeling that may have been why it was relocated the night before Election Day.
Okay, no, I'm not aware of that sign.
Okay, well, it violates the size. A political sign is allowed to be 4 square feet, and that is significantly larger and in your face of Hillside Lake, bigger than 4 feet.
No more than 16 square foot.
We didn't complain about that.
In fact, it was there last year, too.
We didn't ask anybody to remove that.
Okay, like I said, I didn't want to belabor it, and if you don't want to hear why I feel that it is accurate and okay to be there, then you just want to shut me up. getting back to the hole that has been discussed in the roadway there, as previously mentioned, it's a liability. And all town people pay for the insurance for this town's liability. Now, you guys can make Dennis Miller do it by telling him if he doesn't do it, you'll hold back the purse strings on whatever else he wants to do. You guys hold the purse strings. Now, if he doesn't want to do it, then you can authorize or allocate money to get it done and contract it out, but there's no reason why it should just be sitting there. And by the way, regarding that marquee, again, I have to revisit it one more time. The town attorney was contacted on 2 occasions regarding the legality of it. We still don't know exactly what law or what code was violated. We made an attempt to find that out, and we got no response. Thank you.
We don't want to be bullied, John. We don't want to be bullied.
And I'm sure, as far as the hole goes, everybody here is gonna talk to Mr. Miller tomorrow.
But is this what it takes?
No, but yeah, this is the first I've heard of the hole. This is the first time I've heard about the hole.
That we're complaining, is that what it takes? That you people want people to get this?
Bob, this is the first time I've heard of the hole.
But this is known.
I know, but I'm just telling you.
Wait, you gotta know about it. They won't know
No,
about
but
it.
I'm just telling you.
Stop already with the nonsense. Stop. Come on.
Just so we know, across from the hole, within the last month, the town has installed some new curbing that directly puts all that stormwater that comes down that road directly into the lake. That's brand new. When I questioned them, they wouldn't even answer me. Told them that's what we were told to do. So now all the water that went into the side now directly goes into the lake. So now we're taking all the soot, everything, and we talk about trying to improve, and the town and the highway department is just making it worse.
And you get those answers that you don't get, we're not doing nothing, and that's it. We're tired of all this. You people are here for us. And you need to help us. Not yes us, not hear us, and not do nothing about it. You need to help us. That's what you need to do.
Do I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.